And you decide, well, let me take a history, you listen to the patient, what happened. And then you do your physical examination, you do your draws tests, and whatever it is, your Lachman test, and then you want to examine. The next thing you go is you go ahead and you do investigations. Now, for investigations with such injuries, radiological investigations are the best, and the one that we usually use is MRI. This is because, one, it's usually very non-invasive, and you don't want to expose your patient to unnecessary harm. So you tell them to go and take an MRI, and you sit there and you look at it, and you want to see how reliable is this MRI in telling you that this person has a soft tissue injury of the knee. So this study basically, we formulated it to evaluate the reliability of MRI reporting, especially in intra-articular injuries of the knee. Our objective, therefore, was to compare MRI against arthroscopy, which is the gold standard in these kind of injuries, in patients with intra-articular injuries of the knee at Kenyatta National Hospital. For our methodology, this was a retrospective cross-sectional design study. It was taken over 5 years. So we started the first week being the commencing date being January 1st, 2018, with the end being December 31st, 2022. Our study population were patients who underwent arthroscopy at KNH within this period of time, and 72 participants were recruited. So for our results, for the demographic characteristics, the gender skewed 60-40 in favor of the males. Our age was 38 years, plus or minus 13.6. The median was 38 with an interquartile range of 29 to 47. The cause of injury in these patients, we classified them broadly into trauma, sports, or other. So for those who had trauma-related injury was 64%. Those who had sports-related non-contact injury were 26%. And those that fell under other, these were either people who did not know. You would basically find someone presenting at 6 years of age with pain they have been having for maybe 10 years and they didn't know why, or other causes. These constituted around 10%. 43% of our participants actually had arthroscopy done on their left knee, 56% on their right knee, and 1% had on both knees. So we went ahead and looked at the sensitivity and specificity of MRI as compared to arthroscopy for detecting these intra-articular soft tissue injuries of the knee. So you look at the medial meniscal tear. On the left, you can see the sensitivity was 83.8% with a specificity of 77.1. The lateral meniscal tear had a sensitivity of 87.5 on MRI and a specificity of 85%. Anterior cruciate ligament tears actually had 100% sensitivities on all the patients that we found, and a specificity of 96.6%. This contrasts very starkly against posterior cruciate ligament injuries, which had a sensitivity of around 50%. So, and a specificity of 98.5. But I'll say why there were some caveats with posterior cruciate ligament tears, which we mentioned later on in the limitations. We went ahead and looked at the accuracy of MRI findings as compared to arthroscopy. And for medial meniscal tears, MRI had an accuracy of 80.5%. Lateral meniscal tears had an accuracy of 86.1%. Anterior cruciate ligament tears had an accuracy of 97.2%. And posterior cruciate ligament tears actually had an accuracy of 95.8%. These, broadly, they're actually in line with what were found in systematic studies of such kinds of MRI. So other studies which compared these, so systematic reviews of them, actually found that these accuracies were more or less in line with those. So what is the conclusion? You had me babbling here in front of you for a while. So what is it that I'm trying to tell you? That MRIs actually have a comparable diagnostic effectiveness to arthroscopy for detecting ACL and PCL injuries. However, there were lower sensitivities, specificities, and accuracies, especially for medial and lateral meniscal tears. So the punchline here is MRIs are important to use for diagnosing these things, but they're not the be-all and end-all of when you want to investigate a patient who has intra-articular soft tissue injuries of the knee, and you have to view your patient holistically. You have to look at it both, you look at the patient from the clinical, and as well as the imaging. So for our limitations, we actually had incomplete records. This was actually the biggest issue we had. Incomplete records, we had missing MRI reports. This limited actually the number of participants who were eligible for enrollment. We had a participant pool initially of 193. Ultimately we had 72 participants in the study. So that tells you 100 plus were actually because there was poor documentation, and that actually falls later on. So there was poor documentation of MRI reports, and also the files were half-half, so you wouldn't be able to find what the patient had undergone. So acknowledgements, we want to acknowledge the UN Research Club, especially to Vincent and Moa, who actually played a pivotal role. They were advising us, the HIPI Kenya program, our supervisor, Dr. George Museve, and the KNH administration. Thank you very much. There are no references, you just have to trust me.